Hello again. I am Dr. Michelle Wells. I am your transformation strategist, and I want to welcome you again to Be Bold Out Loud. I'm excited about our conversation again today. As you know, I say that bold is breaking through obstacles to lead in your destiny. And so that is again what we're going to be focusing on tonight. And we want you to be ready to join us if in our programs or if you need us, reach out to us. And I'm saying us because I'm going to introduce our guests here in just a moment. But we want you to break through. We want you to be at your very best. And that's what Be Bold Out Loud is all about. So I'm so excited tonight about our guests. I had the opportunity to meet this beautiful lady a few months ago, and it has just been, we just connected. And so I'm so glad to have her on tonight. So I'm going to bring to you Coach Andrea, the Life Igniter. Good afternoon, evening, Coach Andrea. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm so
Thank you
excited
for
to have you.
having me. I'm
You are
excited.
absolutely. I couldn't do this without having you. I'm so excited you
Oh.
are here for sure. So, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio so everybody knows just what an amazing person you are. And then we're going to talk about being bold out loud. And we're going to get into that conversation because I know that you have such great things to add. So, let me read your bio first. So, Andrea, the Life Igniter, coach and spiritual wellness advocate. She helps women who feel brokenhearted and have lost hope to take the sacred journey within so they can awaken to their royal identity in Christ, walk in wholeness, and find the confidence to maximize their fullest potential. She is the founder and CEO of Divine Solution Enterprises, a holistic lifestyle brand that creates transformative experiences that focus on transforming lives through Dare to Live Ignited Coaching and Ignite You, the home of her signature coaching program, The Sacred Journey, to ignite you, beautiful soul, and other spiritual wellness programs and courses. So it sounds like you have so many transforming courses. Inspiration by offering products and apparel that inspire self love, wholeness, and hope while on your sacred journey, and empowerment through her signature boutique style nameplates that speak life. If you have suffered from a broken heart and lost hope in life, know that Andrea has been there too. Life has also presented her with twists and turns that felt like she could never make it through to the other side. She knows what it's like to feel like your soul has been crushed and life looks nothing like what you ever imagined. But she also knows what it takes to embark upon a spiritual path that will transform you and turn your life around. As a certified Life Igniter coach and spiritual wellness advocate with over a decade of experience, her master's degree in psychology and life coaching, as well as obtaining certifications in holistic studies, serving as a national chaplain, and leading spiritual development trainings and workshops. She has helped her clients to reawaken to their divine birthright, maintain a life of wholeness, and find the confidence they need to live ignited and thrive in every area of their life. Her expertise lies in helping women to embark upon the sacred journey within so they can clear their emotional pathways, overcome limiting beliefs, ignite their vision, and discover their divine purpose. Woo! I am so excited to hear from you, Coach Andrea. That is amazing. It sounds like you have really put in the work, not only to help others, but put in your own work so that you were able to help others, right? So,
Yes.
talk to us about this journey and what has it been like to now be Andrea, the Life Igniter coach? What did it take to get there?
Well, I will say it has taken blood, sweat, and some tears.
Yeah.
I just remember being 16 years old and really just like, oh my gosh, I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be. I'm going to be Miss Professional. I'm going to, conquer the world, and then life. life began to happen.
Mhm.
I ended up finding myself like just on a path where it was like I was working for corporate America. And while I was there, it was funny because I was working at an insurance company, coming out of high school and everything. And they were like, "You don't belong here." And I'm like, "Huh?" And this is my first working experience. And I'm just
Mhm.
like, "What in the world? Like, what do you mean I don't belong here?" I was giving it my all, like put my best foot forward, trying to, be a good employee and all these things. And I would hear things like, "You should be a model." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I did used to do that when I was younger,
Mhm.
So I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, well, maybe I should." I mean, so I've tried modeling,
Mhm.
off and on, went to the little etiquette school on how to walk and how to, do
Mhm.
walk down the runway and all that, but never really like pursued that.
Mhm.
So I'm still on this journey working. Was at a company for 7 years. Well, initially 7 years, tried to leave, but ended up coming back. It ended up being there 7 years longer than
Mhm.
what I was supposed to.
Mhm.
But 7 years longer in a season that was beyond my time. So that part of life was very hellacious. So I'm experiencing a lot of different challenges that are just kind of like labor pains that are really just kind of screaming loud at me,
Mhm.
telling me that you are in the wrong place. You're past your season, right? It's time
Mhm.
to find out what it is you really should be doing. And I remember too, just saying, I want to own my own business. I want to help people. I just don't know how. And I ended up having two children in the midst of all that.
Mhm.
Later on, I got married, ended up having or inheriting another son, so my stepson. And then in that process, even kind of rewinding and in between there, I ended up going back to school, getting my bachelor's degree in small business management and entrepreneurship, and just still just had this drive of like, oh my gosh, I'm discovering by going to school that I want to be an entrepreneur. And it just like sent sirens off, like, yeah,
Mhm.
this is it. This is what you should do. But it's been nothing but opposition after opposition after opposition of the enemy really just fighting me through
Mhm.
people to try to tell me who I'm not, to try to knock
Mhm.
me down. And the best thing I can connect and relate that to is one of my favorite movies, which is Captain Marvel.
Mhm.
And there's a part when the movie starts and it shows like how she was like really excited about trying and was seeking her dad's approval. And, she got knocked down, like she was playing baseball, got knocked down, she fell off the swing, but she got yelled at. And just all these different things, like just over time, that kind of
Mhm.
really was a bite against her, to knock her down, to lose her confidence. And I'm like, oh my God, I can so relate to this storyline, right?
Mhm.
But in the midst of all that, she finds her inner strength and her inner power to really step into the space of becoming who God basically like called her to be. And
Mhm.
that's been my story, dealing with emotional trauma, and recognizing and learning, while obtaining my bachelor's degree and then even my master's degree, and like, wow, you've really experienced some traumas in your life, and learning and understanding that I have to work through those things. I can't make excuses for the trauma that I've experienced. Now, I can play the blame game. I've been there, I've done that. That gets you nowhere,
Yeah.
right? But I
Absolutely.
also come to the place where it's like I've recognized I have to work through, I have to do the inner work. And I have to be real and transparent with myself, recognizing my weaknesses, my strengths. I've taken multiple personality tests, just to
Mhm.
discover who I am, and just have been on this journey of self discovery. And
Mhm.
in that, it has landed me. And I'll say this has probably occurred probably 6 years ago, before coaching really like just started to get really popular. But 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, God was like, "Coach." I even had got a prophetic word that said, "You're going to have a coaching ministry." And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, what's this all about? Now I'm traveling down that path. And later, to just for it to unwind and unravel, and God allowed me to read prophetic words that were talking about like transformation, being like a butterfly in a chrysalis. And then this whole time, God is like really unveiling to me my own identity of my own unique imprint in the marketplace.
Mhm.
And so this
Mhm.
whole journey has really been that one of transformation, one of me accepting who I am and not looking for validation in that, and just learning how to embrace it and fully step into the space of who is Andrea? Who are you?
Mhm.
Everybody else has tried to tell you who you are, but who do you believe you are? And it kind of reminds me of the scripture in the Bible where Christ Jesus start asking everybody, who does man say that I am?
Mhm.
And I had to
Mhm.
get to that place, like, who did God say that you are? Like, who are you? And learning to be okay, to own my voice, to know that I have a voice, that God is calling me to be a light worker, which is a person who shines the light. You bring the light and you help to ignite the light in other people to see what
Mhm.
they can't see within themselves. And so that's what this journey has been. It truly has been what I equate and what I've branded as a butterfly transformation process that
Mhm.
gets you to a point of, you've gone through the dark patches of life and now you're looking for reinventing yourself to really step into the space and the true identity that Christ called you to be. So
Yeah.
that's what it's been.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you talk about those dark patches of life. And, I talk about being bold and breaking through our obstacles. And, your whole story is about obstacles that have come in your way. But the other part of your story, which I think a lot of us don't necessarily embrace, is the becoming part, right? And really recognizing what's in your way, what it is that you want, what it is you're designed and created to do. And
Mm,
the becoming part is so important. And I know so many people will just want to be there, right? But you've
right.
got to go through the process.
You
You've
do.
got to walk through the journey. And
Mm,
that's what I think that breaking through is all about, is like walking through that journey. And the journey never stops, right? Even though you start to have the success you want, you start to acquire the things you want, you start to be in the spaces that you want, you are still
mhm.
always on the journey. um, so talk to me a little bit more about the whole idea of breakthrough, and especially with your program, I see that that is something that women are working on, right, as they go through your program. So what does that mean for you to break through?
So breaking through um, is really facing those invisible barriers, those blocks in your life, getting to the root of it so you can get the proper um, thought processes,
Mhm.
the proper behaviors, right? To break through,
Right.
meaning face it head on so you can go against the resistance that's fighting against you.
Mhm.
And in order to get through or break through anything, there has to be a level of resistance, right? There
Mhm.
has to, because against that other, just imagine a piece of glass, and as you're pushing on it, it's not moving, it's not budging. But until you continue to be resilient, right,
Mhm.
and keep pushing against the grain, pushing against it's going to require that. And that is the process. The process is allowing God, no matter if it's like going through the fire, no matter if it's like you're being cut on to be pruned, no
Mhm.
matter if it's you're being cut on as a diamond, like all these things go through some type of process that requires a cutting away in order to go to the next dimension of your life or to break through to the next dimension of your life. But it also requires real transparency with self. We
Mhm.
can't go through this life, with band-aids on or making excuses, right? For the
Yes.
things that God is telling you, like, no, I need you to put that down. I need
Mhm.
you to stop that. I need you to recognize your own behaviors that are self-defeating behaviors,
Mhm.
so that you can break through to the other side. Because with the resistance and things holding you down, bogging you down, guess what? You're going to stay stuck in the same place
Right.
that you said
Right.
you don't want to be in anymore.
Mhm.
So it requires a level of accountability.
Mhm.
Breaking through, you listen, you're going to need some people to hold you accountable
Absolutely.
in that process, because it's easy, human nature, right, to resort right back to what's comfortable.
Mhm.
And so in order to get through to the other side, it's like baking a cake. There's so many different ingredients that come with that. But
Mm-hmm.
when the right things are in place, whether it's community, accountability, taking responsibility, right? You
Mm-hmm.
can't be responsible for the things that, happen to you or against you oftentimes, because some people can impose things on you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can take responsibility for how you react to it, and you can take responsibility on for your
Mm-hmm.
healing, for it to be what God said it could be, so
Yes.
that's what breakthrough means to me.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
it's so important, a lot of times we can make excuses, for why you're not breaking through. But there comes
Mm-hmm.
a point where you have to take, and that was something, and I know you asked me about a quote, but I'm thinking about it now, and it's just something that's just kind of been like rehashing in my mind, that you got to take accountability and responsibility
Mm-hmm.
for your breakthrough, for your healing, for your wholeness. Because
Yeah.
the minute you shift the blame, right, and the minute you try to throw it out of your hands and expect someone else to do that for you,
Mm-hmm.
nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
Absolutely.
happens.
Yeah.
Even our relationship with Christ causes, it demands
Mm-hmm.
accountability and responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. Because I think that so many times, like I said, people just want to be there, wherever there is. But you also talked about the transparency part, and one of the things that I say that it requires us to do is to be truthful, is to be transparent, right?
Mhm.
And to be tenacious so that we stay the course. We don't give up, right? And I think that's the same thing you're saying. What's it going to take for you not to give up? And a lot of times it is that accountability. And don't just get the people that's just going to say what you
Right.
want them to say. Get
That's
the people that are going to, really hold you accountable, and
hmm
sometimes may make you mad.
yes,
Sometimes, you won't like what they're saying,
right.
but if they are the right people to hold you accountable, it will help you stay the course and be responsible, right, for your own healing. So I absolutely love that. I love the way that you defined it and described that breakthrough experience. Um, the other thing that I think that is so important is that we need to kind of think about or frame, what does it mean to lead in your own life? So when I say breakthrough obstacles, to lead in your destiny, we often, women are leaders in so many areas, and leadership is really something that we talk about all the time. But what does it take to lead in your life? Because if you don't take the lead in your life, you're going to be kind of just following whatever path feels good at the moment. I mean, you're not focused on the trajectory and on the things that God has purpose for you to do. You're not walking in his steps. So, what do you think that it takes, Coach Andrea, to lead in your own life?
I will say discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline, because without discipline, you're not going nowhere fast.
So
Like you think
true.
you're gonna do something,
So
but you're
true.
gonna
Yeah.
turn around, you're gonna recognize, like, oh man, I got nothing done because I
Yes.
wasn't disciplined. And
I
that's
wasn't
another thing,
disciplined.
like, that God has been dealing with me on, is like, you gotta get disciplined. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta set some routines, right? You gotta set in some boundaries. You have to set and be a good steward
Mm-hmm.
over how you manage your life. How are you managing time? Time is, as we know, that's the one thing we really just don't get back. How are you managing that?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have in place to hold you accountable, to say, like, hey, this is my beginning and my end point, where this stops, this begins, or vice versa, and without those things in place, how can you lead? You got to have accountability. You got to have protocol. Who do
Mm-hmm.
you answer to? you know, who's there to hold you accountable? Because the leader got to have a leader that they report, that they report to,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But without those things, you're just out here, like you're left to yourself, even in our own personal lives. To lead, I personally feel that to lead, for me personally, I got to have my personal time with the Lord. I have to have my own personal boardroom meeting concerning every area of my life. And I got to consult with him about that, because he knows my beginning from my end, so he clearly is the one. He's the instruction manual.
Absolutely.
Here I am trying to figure out, how has he wired me, right? But what do they do when they send a phone? They send an instruction manual, right? To
Mhm.
show you how to operate that thing. We need to do the same thing when it
I love
comes
it.
to leading our own life and leading it well. The one who created you knows your strengths, your weaknesses,
Mhm.
and he'll tell you how to navigate through them. He'll
Mhm.
encourage you to let you know that his grace is more than enough for where your weaknesses are,
Yeah.
right? He'll let you know what's ahead of you, the 20 steps ahead of you that you don't even recognize could be on your path. And those things are very important, because God can download strategy
Mhm.
on obstacles that you may not even know are further down the road, that you maybe could become blindsided to.
Mhm.
So I think it does take having a relationship with the Lord, checking in with him, checking in with yourself, having those accountability partners, and having community, or someone who you can report to. And I know, like, here in America, we feel like it's all me, independent this, independent that, but left to ourselves, our flesh can get out of control. And if we
Mhm.
don't have someone who can challenge us, a mentor or a coach to help push you, because life and the things we go through can create invisible barriers that can bog us down. And
Mhm.
sometimes we may not recognize certain patterns that we may be operating in, that we may need someone to just nudge us and say, hey, are you realizing that these are things that you're doing that could be self-sabotaging, self-defeating? Hey, you might need your prayer squad to back you up in
Yes.
prayer, and
Mhm.
encourage you on this journey in life, because life is going to keep lifing.
Yes, it will. Yes, it
And you
will.
only are going to get so far
Mhm.
being on an island. It takes
Mhm.
relationship and community,
Absolutely.
with the right things in place, I think, to
Mhm.
help you to be the leader that God's
Yeah.
called for you to be.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you brought up community, because there is nothing that we can do by ourselves. There's just nothing we can do that's going to be useful and fruitful by ourselves. And in fact, in isolation is where the enemy really tries to play with our mind and our emotions. And so
Mhm.
it's so important to have people in your life, like you said, your prayer squad, or people who are on the same page with you and will help you along when you're struggling, right? Because if you're on that island by yourself, you can easily be defeated. So I think that that is a very key part of leadership that we don't always even think about. That if I'm going to lead in my life, who am I going to answer to? And we know we answer to our Father, but then He also puts those other people in our lives to help us to stay accountable to somebody, right?
Mhm.
For what it is we're destined to do, what it is he's walking us into. So I love that you brought up that community, but like you said, setting those good boundaries, managing your time, being disciplined, all of that is necessary for us to be good leaders in our lives. Absolutely. So we've talked about just breakthrough and what that requires. And you talked about accountability, responsibility, transparency, and then leading in our lives. Again, just coming into community and have somebody that you're accountable to, but also making sure that you're disciplined and you're setting good boundaries. And boundaries is that's a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
But I think the boundaries is very, very critical, because we can't just be running to this and that and to all these different things. We've really got to be focused and
Mhm.
disciplined if we're going to lead in our lives. And so the last part of bold is breaking through obstacles to lead in our destiny. So I would love to hear your thoughts on destiny. What does that look like for you? What does that mean? When you're coaching your clients, what is destiny all about?
So this is one of my passion topics because I'm really
Okay.
big on purpose. Purpose is so important, and we got to get to the root of why am I here? There's so many people that don't even know why they're here. They're working jobs out of survival mode, for some people. And that's one thing that I learned. Um, there's certain things that can come on your path that could be something as a stepping stool to kind of catapult you to the next thing, right? But we got to recognize the season for what those things are, and so as it relates to destiny, um I would say it's a mindset more than it is a place, because destiny is what is expressed through you, you're destined, right, to be who God has already called you to be before you even entered into your mother's womb, right? He already had encoded in your DNA, how you were going to be wired, what color you were, how much hair you have or don't have, like all these things is already encoded inside of you. And it's the same thing with his creation of the animals. They came here destined to act out of their instincts, to do, and the hard wiring that is already embedded in them to just be. And so I think about, going back to the source in order to, and I really personally feel like we need to spend a lifetime unraveling, because inside of it, and it's one of my favorite scriptures, it's in the book of Isaiah, but it talks about we're earthen vessels, and inside of us is a treasure that many of us haven't even scratched the surface on. What is really in you as far as the treasure is concerned? The treasures are talents, there are abilities, there's visions, and there's this one quote that I've heard. I think it was by Les Brown, if I'm not mistaken, and I apologize if it's the wrong name. But
Uh-huh.
it said the richest place on earth is the graveyard,
Mm-hmm.
because there's so much untapped potential
Right.
that hasn't. It may have. There's some people who have lived a long, fruitful life, but then there's some people who had premature deaths, right? And they never discovered what's inside of them, and I think about our youth that, all the craziness going on with them, and I'm like, so many of them just do not know who they are. They don't know why they're here, and so when we don't know who we are and we don't know why we're here, we'll find ourselves entertaining things that are easily going to distract us because we don't have the concrete mission, the vision, the reason, the why. Why am I here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you finally discover what that is, that's when life really begins, because now you
Mm-hmm.
get to spend your time discovering new things about yourself that you never really fully understood, right? You may recognize, like, sometimes I can be a little like very vocal, or I can be very quiet. But have you ever thought about why? Why are you like that? Maybe it's your personality type. Maybe it's because you're wired like that, because where God is calling you to is going to require you to be a chatterbox because really you're a speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you love to write so much because you're an author, or you're a ghostwriter for music, like, and all these different things that we have, we got to get near, like, hone in on what is that? Why do I do that? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why, you know, um, why am I so creative? I like putting things together. Who knows? You could be a fashion designer for all that we know, but all these things are encoded in us. And we're like
Mm-hmm.
a treasure box that if we just take a minute to just get quiet and go back to the source, God, go back to God. He will reveal to you the beauty of those talents and what they are to be used for. And I think
Mm-hmm.
when people finally do that, we can find people in better positions who are more happier. you know,
Mhm.
who are like, yeah, I found a job and I'm working with a company because everybody's not called to be an entrepreneur, you
Yeah.
know. But I found that position or that opportunity that fully aligns with my a skill set, my purpose, my mission, my vision, my why. And you'll have people who feel a better sense of fulfillment when they know they're at the right place at the right time, you know. And
Mhm.
so when you're in that type of vehicle and you've sought that out,
Mhm.
but all kinds of opportunities, and what I call this is coming into 100% doubt in alignment
Mhm.
with God. And
Mhm.
that's when you begin to unlock the keys of the king, you know, the kingdom, because then the abundance starts to flow. Now you're centered, you're honed in, you're locked in, you're grounded, right? And now the way that God had created the whole entire universe, everything starts to become attracted to you. That's how
Mhm.
that works. That works by understanding the purpose. When you're in 100% aligned, and what comes to mind is that song by Hezekiah Walker. 99 and a half won't do.
No, do-
Try to make
right.
100 because 99 and a half.
Not that I have won't do. Right. I love it.
When
Yes.
you're 100% dialed in and you are like going back to God, okay, I have my boardroom, God. What is the next move? What's the next?
Mhm.
You will be destined, right? You're already destined. You're predestined, right? To
Mhm.
get to where God is trying to take, but it takes a little bit of um what's the word I'm looking for? It takes some willingness. It takes a yes. It takes a I will do it no matter how afraid I may be, how unqualified I may be. Just know this, that whoever God called, he's definitely equipped you. You got every single thing that you need
Mhm.
to just
Absolutely.
do, to be, evolve, right? That's the becoming. You're evolving, meaning you're growing, you're expanding, you're, you know, discovering all these other new things about yourself, right?
Mhm.
And the minute that you step into the alignment, boom, there it is. Opportunities will start chasing you down. Like this chased me down. I ain't had nothing to do, you know. And you'll find yourself having divine connections. That's
Yeah.
why I have an email address called Divine Networking, because I really believe that when you're in purpose, God starts to send the stuff. You don't have to hustle for it.
There's a
It becomes
flow.
attracted to you, right? You
Mhm.
enter into the divine, natural flow and
Yeah.
rhythm of
Yes.
God. And you
Right.
do not, now you're operating. You got to have me preaching up here, but now you begin operating in the power, authority, and the dominion that
Mhm.
God has encoded in. We got a little bit of God in us, right? He says he
Mhm.
wants to dwell within us. Listen, he wants to be magnified in you,
Mhm.
expressed, fully expressed in us. So when we're in alignment with that and we're seeking him about that, the abundance is just going to overflow. It's going to
Mhm.
come.
Mhm.
Opportunities are going to knock and chase you down, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to go searching, seeking, high, low. God, somebody gonna be talking about you in their boardroom. And before
That's
you know,
right.
you get a phone call and you're like, wait a minute, they want me to appear on Good Morning America. And now
Yeah.
here you got exposure just like that. Your
Yeah.
algorithms will start going through the roof. Why? Because you are right where God wants you to be and
Mhm.
you are aligned. And there is
Mhm.
power in alignment. And so to wrap that up in a nutshell, that's what walking into
Yes.
your destiny
Yep.
looks like to me, you know?
I love
And
it.
when that happens, before you know it, your whole life can literally be transformed
Mhm.
by not just being in alignment, but also being obedient
Mhm.
to what God is giving you step by step, moment by moment, like moving with the cloud and the leading and the guiding of the Holy Spirit of
Mhm.
your life. And before you know it, your life can literally be transformed.
Yeah. Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful. I love it. You said mindset is destiny is a mindset. It's not a place. And then you explained the place beautifully, that place of alignment. Coach Andrea, this has been phenomenal. I'm so glad that I chased you down.
Yes, she
You
did.
did, yes, absolutely. So please tell our audience how they can get in touch with you if they want to connect.
So, absolutely. And thank you again, Dr. Michelle, for this
Mhm.
opportunity. I'm
Yeah.
truly grateful for your platform and allow me to grace the stage with you. For those of you who would like to get in contact with me, you can find me at Ignite Your Life with Andrea today. Spelled out just like that.
Mhm.
I am on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram. If you would like to connect with me there as well. But yes, and then my pages are at Andrea the Life Igniter is how you can reach me on social media.
Absolutely. Thank you again. I honestly cannot thank you enough. And this has just done my heart so good to have you be a part of Be Bold Out Loud today. So thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you again.
So I just thank you all for joining us again for Be Bold Out Loud. We've had some amazing conversation today. Coach Andrea's talked about that breakthrough and making sure that we're accountable, that we're transparent, that we're responsible. And then we also talked about being a leader in your life and being a part of good community and being disciplined, such important parts of leadership. But I love the destiny, that mindset. The destiny is a mindset, that it's not a place, and that when we come into that divine alignment, uh, destiny will show up. God will bring us to that place that we are destined to be. So I'm just so, so grateful for the conversation. So if you need to reach out to me, please, please reach out at www.drmichellewells.com. I would love to come alongside you and help you to have your transformation moments as well, and to help you to be bold out loud. So, thank you again for joining us, and I will see you on the next episode of Be Bold Out Loud. Have a great day, great evening.